And we're live, brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good. It's Saturday afternoon. Just took me a little quick cat nap there before we started the show. You were doing content since about 12 o'clock, and then me and you got together and started working on our position previews, I guess, leading into fall camp, which we'll start putting out next weekend. I think it's the date, right?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, so I can kind of talk what this week's going to look like. So today we taped with national podcast Stu Cassidy's been on our show each and every preseason. So did a 35-minute. He wanted a review of the Longhorns, so gave it to him. That's probably going to come out Monday. We do have Connor Stroh, the offensive tackle, 6'6", 345 from Frisco Wakeland, doing an interview with us on Tuesday. More than likely going to drop on Wednesday. And then, like Clint said, we'll probably do a live later on this week and then drop our position preview series starting next weekend with an easy position group to analyze, and that was the running back position. So that'll be the first one. So welcome in, everybody, on this fine Saturday night. A lot of Texas football talk is coming your way, and couldn't be more than happy to bring it to you.
Like you said, the running back was probably one of the easier position groups to do, seeing what you have coming back in Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson, 𝗟𝗚𝗞𝗘 Robinson, Jonathan Brooks, and then Jaden Blue. The list keeps going on and on. So that one was fairly easy. We'll probably save offensive line and quarterbacks for a later date. Once we get an idea of what the potential starting five look like and who they're backed up against. I think Jeremy said yesterday there was 12 guys that we have on our list right now. Was it 12 guys?
Yeah, it's 12. It's 5 returning key guys and then the 7 freshmen that we're going to walk, player by player. Our prediction where we think this final 5 is going to be, and then who's the 4, 5, 6, 7 to back them up. But we need more notes coming from fall camp before we can give you a good idea who those 5 are going to be. But like I said, so happy you're joining us. Plenty of content coming out this week, probably about 4 or 5 shows from Texas Football Talk. Please check out as many as you can.
So up here in the, I guess it would be the left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see some new stuff there. Me and Jeremy have created what they call the inner circle. So if you go to your YouTube page there, if you hit the join, doesn't mean you're going to join. As soon as you hit that, as soon as you look at, you can hit that join. It's going to give you a kind of description of what the inner circle is. It's really just a membership. We're trying to grow the channel. We're really trying to grow the channel. Obviously, those that have been watching for a while know that we both work full time and trying to try to give you as much content as we possibly can, but we're going to try to start lining up some guest speakers behind, membership wall, as well as there's a couple of games where Jeremy's going to do commentary in the Alabama and the Oklahoma game, and maybe more to follow. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and click on that join button. See if you're interested. Like me and Jeremy said, if we get 1-2 people that are interested in doing it, that's cool enough. But we definitely wanted to create a membership channel as well, just so that we can, move forward and, try to grow the channel. Like if you're in here tonight, we're going to talk. I'm going to tell you, kind of go down the list of things we're going to talk about. First and foremost, we are going to talk about Arch Manning rating.
Whatever
combo.
Benjamin Blackbell wants to talk about.
Yeah.
With a $20 super chat. So go ahead and run down the lineup, and then we'll address Ben's question.
Absolutely. So we'll talk Arch Manning rating combo, which should be pretty exciting. It seems like you have some recruiting analysts out there, national recruiting analysts, local recruiting analysts kind of got their take on this whole Arch Manning rating combo. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Malik Muhammad and Jalen Hale. They're out right now at the Under Armour. What is it, the Under Armour 50 camp right now out there in Florida. Damn, it sounds Jalen Hale, I think, might have scored probably 3 or 4 touchdowns. I've seen a couple of clips with him and Johntay. So Johntay, Malik Muhammad, Sadir, and Malik Muhammad, Johntay, Jalen, Hale, and Sadir are all there. And let me know if I missed anybody. And then we'll talk a little bit about Johntay's comments on a couple of his videos about the coaching staff now and present or past coaching staffs, and then talk a little bit about the Big 12 media day and some of the comments that came from, Bijan Robinson, Coach 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧, and the list goes on and on. And then obviously, we'll get to the comments and talk about those as well. We'd love your thoughts on some of these things we're going to be talking about. So let's talk about what he wants to talk about first here. We'll pull this Benjamin Blackwell, Super Chat 1999. Thanks, man. Appreciate you, Benjamin. So we have all the skill position covered. Do you guys have a better feel of who the big guys up front are, and how confident are you that they are better than what we had last year? So I'll go ahead and let you take that first, Jeremy.
All right. So coming out of media days, I really felt good about what Coach 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧 had to say. And he said these 7 freshmen that have come in with business on their mind. Bijan kind of said the same thing when he approached Kelvin Banks in the weight room and tried to joke with him. These guys are serious. I had a conversation with Steve Hudson, Cole Hudson's father. I think it was Wednesday. And he said the 22 lineman class is just touching the tip, and Steve might be in here tonight, of what they can be. But the 5 offensive linemen that I decided to write about in our offensive line position preview that'll come out later on this month is real quick. Junior Angilau, Jake Majors. I'm trying to do this by memory. Junior Angilau, Jake Majors, Hayden Connor, Christian Jones, and Andre Carrick, and then the 7 freshmen. Because I think those 5 are going to be who's competing with the 7 incoming freshmen. Now, depending upon what publication you read or what you hear, there's a combination of Hudson and Campbell having the best chance to start again. Cole Hudson was the only one of these offensive linemen that joined in January and has a leg up on the others. But then you're talking about a Kelvin Banks, who's a top 10 and number 1 tackle in the whole daggum 22 class. So what Coach 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧 said was these guys are going to push the elder statesmen. Hopefully it increases the elder statesman's level of play and that they are competing for positions in the fall. I'm more in line of 3 vets, 2 freshmen is what I think it's going to be. The combination of probably Majors, Angilau, Hudson and or Connor, and then it depends on the tackles. Maybe Christian Jones and a freshman. But we need for them to get in camp, put pads on before we can really assess that group. And that's why we're holding off on doing that position preview, because these guys, as Coach 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧 said, are still in underwear. So nobody's earned a starting position in underwear going against Ayers. So that's kind of where I'm at with that position at this particular point.
Yeah, I think the good thing, I mean, this year the coaches are able to be with the players during the summertime to go through really really technique. Obviously Kyle Flood can be out there and with these young freshmen, something they haven't been able to do before until this year, which obviously if you came in as an early enrollee like a Cole Hudson, you know the offense, you understand what's going on. All the questions about, the playbook have been answered, and it's really just, grinding and getting your technique out there to be able to start game 1 against ULM. So I think that's a piece of the pie that's really going to help these young freshmen. But if you go, like Jeremy said, if you go look at every one of these things, I picked up Phil Steele today, and if Phil Steele says that Andre Carrick's going to be your left tackle, Christian Jones is going to be your right tackle, Jake Majors is going to be your center, Cole Hudson is going to be your right guard, and Junior Angilau is going to be your left guard. But like Jeremy said, it's put your nose to the grindstone. These young talented. And if you look at Phil Steele's recruiting rankings, I think Devin Campbell was number 2 and Kelvin Banks were number 3 when it came to offensive linemen. So the talent is there with those guys. The ability, I believe, is there. It's how fast do they pick up the playbook? How fast can Kyle Flood and Steve 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧 feed them that playbook? And are they going to be prepared to play against Power 5 level, defensive linemen once they move into the season? Do I think ULM will be a problem? Absolutely not. But when you got 2 beasts coming at you for week 2, that's when you got to be concerned about those guys. And because again, do I think they have the strength to play at this level? Absolutely. But at the same time, you're going to be going against grown men that have been in a program for 3 or 4 years that have gone against the best each and every week. So to me, if you're going to play them, or you feel like you're going to play them in the year, I'd rather you start them at the beginning of the year, game 1, and let them work through their issues and let it create continuity on that line versus, putting somebody in there and having to put them in, game 2, game 3 going into the Big 12 conference.
Because that was the question about Quinn Ewers today. The national podcast that I was on asked if we should start Hudson Card and slow roll Quinn Ewers into a scenario. And I said absolutely not, for the same reason. He gives you the best chance to win. The team is behind him. It seems like the coaching staff is behind him. Let him roll out against ULM. Let him roll out against Alabama. Let it be his team and take on 2022 just like that. I feel like that with the offensive line, regardless of classification, the best 5 shall play, and figure out who 6, 7, 8, 9 are during fall camp. But yeah, so you guys are asking such great questions and putting up such great comments that I don't know that we're probably going to address anything that we had on the table until the end of the show. Because somebody's asking real quick if Jake Majors is going to start 5 years, and it's Gray Man with the $1.99 super chat. Appreciate that. Does Jake Majors start for 5 years? I could say they are recruiting tackles. Everybody that they have recruited that I can think of in the 2022 class has played tackle, even Connor Robertson. Everybody they've recruited in the 23 class so far, whether it be Gooseby, Chapman, Connor Stroh, or Kojo, have been all tackles. So I can't tell you who's going to move into center. I know we talked to Connor Robertson about that last year when we interviewed him, about possibly him moving to center, but it's definitely possible. Now, I'd like to see Jake Majors. I think he put on about 15 pounds this offseason. He's coming a little heavier than he did last year. But, yeah, he can definitely own the position for 5 years.
Yeah, I think I don't see him not holding it for 5 years if he consistently plays well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You hope he plays well enough that he can work himself into a draftable spot where he doesn't want to stick around for 5 years. That means you're developing your players and you're bringing guys behind you that may be, I wouldn't say develop better, but higher ranked than what Jake Majors was. But yeah, I think, he looks like he's going to be your starting center, but as far as these guys that they've been recruiting, they're all like 6'5" and taller, and those are usually going to be for your interior guys, your guards and more your tackles. So we'll kind of see where they go with that. I know Junior 𝗟𝗓𝗓, in the spring was the one that was actually backing up Majors at center, just in case, obviously you don't want no injuries, but just in case it goes down, it looks like Junior 𝗟𝗓𝗓 probably be the next man up when it comes to center, which you got some guards there. It sounds like that you can fill with behind him if that was to happen.
Yeah. So at Sports Talk Center on Twitter, Banks Jr., Majors, Campbell, and Jones. Again, a combination of 3 upperclassmen or veterans with a couple of freshmen. Real quick, yeah, the dogs are barking. That's one of the new emojis. If you become a member, you get to throw a dog up pretty much every time a dog barks, which isn't funny. I'm about to run her out of here. But I want to talk about Richard's comment, because blue chip ratio is something that me and Clint have touted in the offseason for the last 2 years. And when I saw the blue chip ratio come out from Bud Elliott this week, I didn't like it at all. Because we've shown, and even when we're doing these position previews, a part of it is, hey, he's a 5-star from South Point in Tucson, Arizona. He's a 4-star from Hallettsville, Texas. And every guy you're talking about is a 4 or 5-star, which meets that blue chip criteria that 247 has. Yes, they have a 90% blue chip ratio, and ours has been higher in the past. I think we've been up towards the upper 70, 78, 79% with past rosters. Problem was with the I think it was 18, 19, and 20 class. A lot of those classes didn't come to fruition, whether it be medical retirement, transfer, never saw the field. I got to think of a couple of case in point linemen. I don't want to call anybody out, but they're no longer in the program. But Tyler Johnson and Isaiah Hookfin were two highly ranked offensive linemen that never touched the field at the University of Texas. So I don't know how I feel about blue chip ratios. It seems like the 22 class is going to have quite a bit of blue chips. And again, it's the Steve Sarkisian turning the roster over, right? 35 new faces, 28 through recruiting and 7 through the transfer portal. 57 out of 85 are brand new to the program since he got here. Like, that blue chip ratio is coming with that top 5 recruiting class this year, that currently 4 ranked recruiting class next year. But blue chip ratio means nothing if the blue chips that you have on your team aren't performing. That's kind of the way I feel about it.
It's like that every year. You can have an 80% blue chip ratio, but then you lose to teams that have a 30% blue chip ratio or 15% blue chip ratio. So if you're not developing your guys to play at a higher level in which they came to you, and be able to play at a high level to win you a championship, and we'll get to that when we talk about the Big 12 media comments. Blue chip ratio means really nothing if you're not playing at that level in which that percentage is. I think we just got another 1999 super chat. Go ahead, Jalen.
I see that, and I appreciate the comment, Benjamin. Great answer to my question, guys. You guys have really done your research, and it shows. Keep up the good work. Really appreciate that. We do work hard to provide, consistent, versatile content, right? So one show we'll have a commitment on. Next show we'll try to do a live. Next show we'll try to have a member of 247 with recruiting angle. Currently working with the Texas administration on getting active players on this channel. So trying to bring you good content. It's versatile. Is what we try to do. And Clint's talking about field steel. I've been reading athlons all day. So yeah, we do work hard. We do our research, but I want to go back to what you said. And I think I said this last show is, again, those ratings are based upon how you exit college. They're based on NFL comparisons, where they see you in 4 years. They're not really hey, this guy, and that's the thing with Arch Manning and the guy who, and I'm not even going to say his name. You guys put his name in the chat a couple of times. If you would have read a publication and a quote from this guy, and Stephen Nagati covered it pretty well in Fanatic Perspective. If you would have read a publication this guy put out last month about Arch Manning, he says he's a surefire 5-star. And then all of a sudden, I don't know why he wanted to tweet out that he's not, other than attention seeking. But again, those ratings are based upon future results, and that's the NFL draft. But Clint said it right. I'm going to stop rambling, because once you get them on campus, yeah, they may be rated higher than the guy to the left or their right. But if they don't develop, if they don't get in the weight room, if they're not, dieting correctly, if they're not getting enough sleep, if football's not as important to them as the next guy, then there's a chance that guy can leapfrog. And again, you'll find 5-stars sitting on the bench, never finding the field in their 4 years at the University of Texas. So that's kind of my spill on blue chip ratio. Clint?
Yeah. I want to go back to the offensive lineman, because, Kyle Flood knows what he wants in an offensive lineman, and he goes out there and he sends out offers really, really early to those guys. I think the guys that we have in the class now, I think every one of them minus Jaden Chapman are 3-stars, right? I believe so. They're all 3-stars. But he identified those guys early as, hey, I want these guys. And I think you got to look at it like this. Kyle Flood signed a class of offensive linemen that are going to probably start at the University of Texas for the next 3 years, right? So in the next class, he had an opportunity to go out and get guys that may not, and I don't think this class really has a whole bunch of 5-stars and 4-stars. If you go look at the offensive linemen, they're very, very spread out across the country. Not a lot of guys in the state of Texas. Off the top of my head, I think there's a few guys that are over 95s in the state of Texas that would be those high blue chip players. But he brought in guys that he's going to be able to develop and be able to bring a little bit slower than this class that he brought in. So that's always going to bring your blue chip ratio down. If you look at the 3-stars that they brought into this class, which people complain about that all the time, like, oh my God, here we got another 3-star. Oh my God, we got another 3-star. They identified those guys as players that they want to play on their football team. You know what I'm saying? So if they identify that they want them, I'm not the guy to stand up here and say, they're not good for the team because they didn't meet that 4 or 5 stars. Then they're making our blue chip ratio go down, which, some people look at. Team identified them. They want them, and they brought them on. So I'm happy with that. Let's talk about this arch manning thing because you brought
let me address this real quick. Because somebody said it's not reasonable for me to lump Tyler Johnson and Isaiah Hookfin together. Johnson didn't want to play, period. Hookfin was injured in a motorcycle accident. Torrin, you must have just logged in because what I talked about in the 18, 19, and 20 class was medical retirements. I talked about transfers, and I talked about guys that just didn't see the field. So I wasn't lumping them together as poor performers or anything like that. What I was saying was there was high 5-star level linemen that didn't see the field for whatever reason. Not lumping them together, just stating facts.
Yeah. Again, if you look at that 18 and 19 class, attrition is probably 80% at this particular point. And there's very few guys that went on to the next level to play from that class. And again, you had to turn over to the entire roster because of that. Now you have very little, juniors and seniors and a whole bunch of freshmen and sophomores. Yeah, so that 18 to 19 class and the attrition that we had definitely put us behind the power curve. Now it's time for Steve Sarkisian and that staff to turn that roster over and get the guys in if they need to get them in.
And a great comeback story out of that class was Gabriel Floyd, medically retired from the University of Texas, neck injury, high 4-star, possible 5-star lineman, comes to Texas. We think great things are happening. He find out he has a disc issue, medically retires. That's the scenario I'm talking about. Not necessarily guys that don't want to play or guys that didn't perform as though we thought they would when we brought them here, but just guys that didn't see the field. Because again, that's a void out of your 85. That's a guy that you can't trust to play in ball games or doesn't have the capacity to play in ball games that can help you.
I think this is a good comment here, and I really want to get to this arch conversation. I've said it 3 times now. A year ago, we were hoping for a wide receiver 3 breakout from Marcus Washington or Mookie Dixon because Troy O'Meara got hurt again. This year, Ajay Hall is your wide receiver 4. If we do happen to upgrading to the O-line, that we will be in great shape. That's crazy to me. And as we go through these position previews, because I was thinking about the wide receiver group, you have, and I can tell you Phil Steele put us as the 6th best wide receiver group in the country, and I'm going to say that's just a little bit too low. But I think it comes back to your wide receiver is only as good as your quarterback. Your quarterback's only as good as your line giving them enough time to throw. Bottom line. And I think a lot of that comes from Isaiah Nair going from Wyoming to Texas and only having like 3 years playing football. You haven't seen him play at Power 5. You haven't seen him play a Power 5 schedule for an entire season. Played at Wyoming, and I think that's where that really comes from. That Xavier Worthy and probably half of Jordan Whittington is what you've actually seen at the University of Texas. And you hope that Jordan Whittington stays healthy because at one point he was a leading receiver until he got hurt. And then Xavier Worthy took over, at the end of the year and took off and broke a whole bunch of freshman receiving records. But I think that's what it comes back to.
And somebody really, really good is not going to play, because like you said, if you go empty, right, and your 4 wide receivers are, let's say Ajay Hall's number 4, you got Jordan Whittington is number 3, you have Isaiah Nair is number 2, and Xavier Worthy is number 1. There's some good football players that are like Tariq Milton, the transfer. You got Brennan Thompson runs a 10-2, 100 meters. And again, that's health, right? Like and that's another thing is this wide receiver position has shown Whittington has been injured. Ajay Hall didn't get many snaps at Alabama. We've seen flashes from Ajay Hall. We've seen flashes from Jordan Whittington. It's that sustainability. Like you said, when you start typing it out for a position preview, just like I did with the freshman offensive lineman, accolade after accolade after accolade after accolade. Everyone you mentioned is the best at this, the best at that. So yeah, it was fun writing them because you didn't realize all their accomplishments talking about the freshman lineman. But as you write the names down of these wide receivers, there's good wide receivers that aren't going to catch many balls this year.
Yeah, Tex Somer here. Welcome, Tex Somer. Y'all ain't over there. I'm pretty sure everybody on here has watched Tex Somer's videos. He puts on some damn good videos. I wait for them to come out. And as soon as they come out, about 30 seconds later, I'm on them. But yeah, Texas homer here. Wild term for offensive skill positions, absurd amount of weapons, including tight ends. I was thinking about tight ends today too. It's like, but I think what Steve Sarkisian said best was somebody asked him during the media days was like, with the way the transfer portal is, how do you plan on, and I'll let you answer the rest of this question, how do you plan on making sure that everybody gets touches so they don't feel like I got to go nowhere? And he starts naming off a list of players at Alabama and said he had 4 wide receivers on the field at one time at Alabama. But they didn't really care because they knew that if they were successful, that everybody was going to eat. You know,
Yep.
NFL general managers can see talent, regardless if you catch 15 passes or if you catch 45 passes. That talent is talent is talent is talent, and that's what he had. He had 4 first round draft picks and a wide receiver room at the same time.
Judy, Ruggs, Waddle, and the final guy always escapes me, and they're going to help me get it out. But yeah, he just started calling names. He said, I had Lindell White and Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, no problems. I had these 4 first-round wide receivers with Najee Harris in the backfield and Mac Jones as my quarterback. No problem. He said, give me the riches and let me figure out the rest. Because, again, like you said, Bijan Robinson is going to get 25 carries. Roschon Johnson is going to get 8 to 10 carries. Where's Keelan Robinson's workload? Where's Jonathan Brooks' workload? Like, there's a lot of great skill position players who you hope you're blowing teams out. And with this offense, like you said, if there's a little bit of improvement from the offensive line, they already scored average 44 points in all their wins last year and a little under 28 in their losses. Again, with a little bit more complimentary football, you probably turn that number up a little bit. And I agree. It's crazy the amount of depth. Yeah, Jaden Blue is your 5th running back. Like, we named 5 running backs today. Like, Roschon Johnson would start on 90% of Division I teams. Keelan Robinson is going to be valuable in the pass game. He's going to be valuable in special teams. You see Jonathan Brooks. I mean, I'm kind of spoiling what's coming, later this week. But you see Jonathan Brooks bust big gains against just about every team he got an opportunity to play against, including our first-team defense in the spring game. It's an embarrassment of riches, but it all has to come together and be cohesive in order for this thing to really go to that next level.
Yeah, so Sark said there are people that want to see 10 personnel. I wonder if those people are Billingsley, Hall, and Milton. One of them is Rod Babers, right? Rod Babers wants to put as many wide receivers on the field as you possibly can. And I think I didn't hear the conversation Jeremy was telling me about it, and he was grilling him. He's like, why? He says, I think he was giving him like examples of being successful on the football field, and he was like, you got to put as many wide receivers as you possibly can.
Rod wants 2 formations. He wants 2 backs, whether it's 22, whatever it looks like, and he wants to empty the backfield. He wants to spread them out. And he started naming off explosive play percentage. He started naming off yards per play in these formations. If he had his way, we'd be empty every game until we probably got within the 20, and he's probably going to want to see Roschon and Bijan on the field at the same time to punch it in. If Rod was the offensive coordinator, that's all you would have. I don't want to misquote him, but just go back and listen to him grill Coach Sarkisian on media day about formations and his team's ability to do certain things in certain alignments.
All right, let's talk about Arch Manning here. All right. A lot of criticism coming Arch's way, and all I can do is laugh. If you understand quarterback mechanics, you would too. There was a lot of long loopy throwing motion, and the best quarterback didn't even win the Elite 11. All right, so I'm just going to start with this. I'm going to start with 2 things. If Arch Manning if he wouldn't have picked Texas and he went to Alabama and Georgia, would you have the same critique that's going on right now? That's just an open-ended question, okay? The second thing I have for you is he's been a 5-star number 1 quarterback for probably a year and a half when they first put out their 2023, their first 2020 or 2024 rankings. And he's been there forever. But now all of a sudden you've watched all his football tape, but he hasn't gone to camps. They say he plays against talent that is beneath the rest of the quarterbacks in the thing, and there's a whole bunch of quarterbacks. And I think that I'll say this: there's probably 5 quarterbacks that could honestly probably be, or I'd say 3 to 4 quarterbacks that could be ranked number 1 in this class, no doubt. and that's not a bad thing. That tells you what's going to happen probably in 2026 or 2027 when the NFL draft happens. If all these guys are successful, you're probably going to have quarterbacks that are going to come off the board right after each other. But like Jeremy said, it's not based on what his potential is at this level, but where do they see him falling in the NFL draft in 4 years from now, because he still hasn't got to the University of Texas. Your thoughts on this, man?
Well, I just going back to the whole Elite 11 thing, and somebody said it better than me. I really, really wish I could remember who it was so I could give them credit. But somebody said, what are those camp counselors at Elite 11 going to teach him that Archie, Peyton, and Eli can't teach him? Let that sink in, right? Elite 11 camps usually was once ran by Trent Dilfer. What is those counselors at Elite 11 going to teach Arch Manning that Peyton, Eli, and Archie couldn't teach him? Number two, again, that his game film has not been found in the last month. His game film has not been found in the last 2 months. His game film has been out there since, I would say, December, since the end of his junior year. You had time to analyze it. That's what you do for a living. Me and Clint don't do this for a living. I'm in the Army, and he's retired, and has a full-time job. But we take the time to get whatever film is given to us, whether it's just highlights or whatever we have, to take the time to understand. Because again, when you look at Quinn Ewers and South Lake Carroll playing behind that offensive line with that group of athletes, it's clearly defined. When you look at Arch Manning, again, he's playing behind an offensive line. The center can barely get him the ball. Every throw is off balance. He's always having to move. It's harder to evaluate that film. But I will tell you, and I cited this last show with Mike Roach, was we got an opportunity to watch Nick Evers throw to Evan Stewart and Johntay Cook. Pretty good quarterback, right? High 4-star, going to Oklahoma. Had an opportunity to see or hear Johntay talk about Arch Manning after having him throw to him at camp. He prefers Arch Manning. Again, I'll take Johntay Cook's endorsement because Johntay, along with Arch, is doing pretty well at getting other football players part of this 23 class. Jalen Hale, Malik Muhammad, Anthony Hill, Darian Gillette. All these kids want to play with Arch Manning, right? So not only is he helping you, and I don't know that Nico Amaleva would have that impact. I don't know that Malachi Nelson would have that impact. I don't know that Jackson Arnold will have that impact. But Arch Manning is more than your 23 quarterback. He's your leader. He's the guy that's getting all these other 5-star and high 4-star caliber athletes to want to come to the University of Texas after a 5-7 record. That's my thoughts on Arch Manning. And I'm happy he's going to be our quarterback.
Absolutely, man. This is what I see. This is what I see because, again, you have really 3 large platforms when it comes to recruiting. 3, I would say 2, and then you have one that's kind of off to the side because I don't really know how much ESPN spends on recruiting, right? They really don't have a platform like 247, or actually it'd be, I guess, 4, right? 247, Rivals, On3, and ESPN. So I'm gonna put my eggs in the 3 basket of Rivals. I would say 247, On3, Rivals, in any of that order, however you want to do it. But I think he's going to drop from number 1. That's not a problem. I don't see it as a problem. And I don't think that the Mannings see it as a problem. And I can see that Eli, and Peyton are in his ear, telling this kid with all this stuff that's going on around his name that he sees that, hey, welcome to being a quarterback at a high level. I promise you this, everybody from the time you step from now to the time that you throw your last, pass in the NFL, everybody's going to critique what you should have and what you shouldn't have done. So, again, Jeremy said it right. Would you rather have an Elite 11 quarterback camp counselor in the ear of Arch Manning, or would you rather have a Hall of Famer and 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks that actually played at the same level, at the same school that Arch Manning is currently playing at right now?
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself.
Golly, that got exciting, man. It got exciting. 131 people in here right now. The excitement level is off the charts. 131 people in here. Please hit that like button. If you have not hit that like button, we definitely appreciate it. I told Jeremy today, kind of getting off this Arch subject real quick. As you read these headlines in both Athlon, and you start looking at Phil Steele, believe it or not, if you have not picked it up, and I'll kind of put his information out right now. 9-3 is where he currently has this at, which is one game above where I have it at. And he also has his plan for a Big 12 championship. And Phil Steele's pretty good at this because he told us last year, don't get too hyped about the hype train because it's not going to look too good. But he's really, really excited about the Texas program. He actually said they're number 3 in his, his team trajectory. I think USC, and I can't remember the second one. And then Texas is number 3. So Phil still believes in the University of Texas this year. I just got to make sure that Clint doesn't get too hyped up before the season because it's starting to kind of happen. And I think it's happening because of the conversations they had at media days with Steve Sarkisian and the things that Bijan Robinson is saying, Obi Ogofu, his conversation. It's starting to get there. And I'm trying to pull back a little bit and make sure that I don't put my burnt orange glasses on too soon this year. So
me and Clint are going to a thing, and it reminded me because Candace is in here, Queen Bee. So we're going to this thing next week on Saturday, 6 to 9, down at the High Five for Burnt Orange Heroes. Clint doesn't have burnt orange glasses on right now, but when he gets around all that burnt orange, when we come back on Sunday and we lay down that first position preview for the running backs, they're going to be fully engaged. But yeah, this is the time of the year to be excited. I mean, recruiting season is about to blow up again in the month of July. You're going to have all these commitments, including Malik Muhammad next week. You got Jalen Hale, whose commitment date is September 22nd. Anthony Hill is probably going to commit this summer. A lot of things are going to go on the recruiting front, but eventually, like next Sunday, we're going to shift. Now, again, we'll cover the barbecue because that's a big recruiting event that a lot of these guys are going to be at. Another, guard, Miles McVay, another 345-pounder. We found out it's going to be there today. So Texas is still actively recruiting big men. But so we'll put on our recruiting glasses or recruiting lens back on for that event and just fall in that. But we've turned the page. Like we're full throttle into the season mode at this point. Getting our publications, reading what we can find out, hearing from our sources, as limited as they may be, on what's happening, as we prepare for fall camp and get ready to move into the season. But I couldn't be more fired up just for football, not just the Longhorns, but for college football. It just seems like this crescendo is a little bit more involved in past years, I guess, because recruiting kind of slid up and activity's been happening since May. And it's 49 days away. It's seven weeks from today. Texas will be kicking off against ULM at DKR, and we'll get this thing rolling.
Yeah. Burnt orange glasses are starting to come on. So a couple of recruiting notes real quick. Like we talked at the beginning of the show, Under Armour, what is it? The Under Armour 50, is going on there. What is it called?
You got it. The Under Armour Future 50.
Future 50 is going on right now in Florida. There's some names down there that everybody's going to know. Obviously, Sadir Mitchell's there this weekend. Malik Muhammad, Jalen Hale, Johntay Cook. I missed the other one. Javian Tabiano is there. So you have some guys. And again, wherever Johntay Cook's at, I promise you this, he's going to be pushing the burnt orange to every player that he possibly can. He may be we had Derek Brown last year, right? As the kind of the recruiter, with that.
Him and Justice Finkley were the unofficial recruiters for 2022.
Johntay Cook does it in a different way. Johntay Cook is going to tell you exactly where they're going, regardless if they don't want you to tell them where they're going. So he's outing people on their commitments. I know Jalen Hale said that he's already made a decision on where he wants to go. But I think he's coming out 22 September to tell us where he's going to go. And I think it's a good, if you're reading the tea leaves on every inside, on every, recruiting board, the tea leaves, the smoke, all that stuff is starting to go towards University of Texas. Also talking about Malik Muhammad, same thing, 20 August is his commitment date. I think that is next
20 July, next Wednesday.
20 July, next Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday, right? He's going to make his decision, which again, tea leaves, smoke, seems like it's Texas. And you brought up, Miles McVay was one of these guys, these offensive linemen that they actually gave a last minute offer to. And now he's showing up at the barbecue on the 28th or the 29th is when it is. And he was actually, I don't think we were in his top 6. He's actually coming into the barbecue. So I think we're going to be an addition to that top 6. And it would not surprise me if you didn't have Arch Manning, Johntay Cook, and all those other guys in this guy's ear, and the hype is not real, and he doesn't decide to prolong his commitment until he can make a decision.
There was a top 50 defensive lineman. I want to say from the state of Alabama, somebody will help me out here, that I just read about a couple of days ago that Texas, and you may be too late on him, but said great players want to play with great players. Texas is part of my top 5. Again, we've always covered who Texas has offered, who's in their warm area, that they're in that top 10, top 5, top 3. The guys are coming out of the woodwork in this top 100 players list. And again, I think that's that Arch effect. I think that's that Anthony Hill effect. Well, if Anthony Hill is interested in Texas, why wouldn't I be? If Arch Manning is interested in Texas, why wouldn't I be? If Johntay Cook is committed to Texas, why wouldn't I be? And so great players want to play with great players. Jontay's remarks, we'll talk about that in a minute, say just that. I don't know if I agree with that the prior 2 coaches didn't make an effort to get good football players in here. But you could definitely, like we talked with Micah on Tuesday about, you could definitely see it changing. That's why I asked him the way I asked him. I don't know if this is new, but it feels new to me, the coast to coast, in every room, have an opportunity for every player. This is new, and that's another thing that's exciting.
Yeah, I think that guy's name is Damian Wilson. Torin here says Damon, but I think I want to say
no, it's Damian Wilson.
Damian Wilson, right? Yep. Yeah, he's the one that said, "Hey, if Hill's looking at Texas, I need to take a deep dive into what Texas is actually doing." So Richard Walker brings up the comment we were going to talk about with Johntay Cook in his video at the Under Armour Future 50. They asked Cook why Texas is back, and he says, because they got me. I love the confidence in my wide receiver. I want him to be a diva. That means when you throw it to him, he's going to go get it. Johntay Cook he's going to tell it exactly the way he's going to tell it in every interview that everybody does it with him. If you go back and watch that video that he did with Evan Stewart, he's giving Evan Stewart a hard time about A&M. And that's what you want. You want people that are passionate about the program. They care about the program. And like Jeremy said a while ago, I think not just this 23, the 23 class, but the 22 class really is in a position to change the trajectory of the program. And I think they truly want to do that. And I truly want to think that they want to take Texas on their shoulders, the Texas football program, and put it on their shoulders, and they want to change it and be the ones that actually change it. And that's the kind of football players you need, the ones that want to go in and fight every day to win. But yeah, they got me. That's why that's why Texas is going to be back. But it's also Johntay Cook out there in everybody else's ear, this other talent's ear, trying to get them to the 40 is what is going to have Texas get to a point where they are playing at a rate in which they were doing in the 2000s.
Very late in the year, very important games. That's how we'll say it. I want to pop up Candace's comment real quick. The college football should be better the next few years since Miami, USC, Oregon. It's not just Texas, right? You want all these blue bloods, all these teams that you've been yearning for the last 20 years to see be good and play each other. And I think this realignment piece is going to really change the landscape of college football. This NIL has changed the landscape of college football. I kind of talked that on the national podcast that I was on today that's going to drop on Monday is and because he asked me, how does Texas feel about NIL? And I said, we're going to take advantage of every iota of whatever influence because we're a very affluent school. Texas is a very affluent school, and we're going to use that to our advantage until they tell us not to. That's exactly how I said it. Because if you don't do it, somebody else is going to get an upper hand or an edge that you're not going to be able to take advantage of. And again, I think it comes down, Arch Manning doesn't need money. You know what I mean? Like that whole, Like, these kids are here. They want to be here. They want to play for Sark. They want to play for each other. And again, I think the program is headed in the right direction, 100%.
You're bringing up NIL, and we had a conversation, when we were doing the running back position preview about, and again, y'all need to go back and watch this content. We don't want to put too much out there, but I think one of the best comments I heard from the Big 12 Media Days was from Bijan Robinson about the NIL and his NIL deal with Lamborghini, and everybody knows how humble Bijan Robinson is as a person, right? If you ever heard him talk, or I think the spring game 2021, where Bijan, they had to come get Bijan like 4 times off the field because he would have sat out there and he would have signed everybody's helmets and shirts and shoes and gloves and all that stuff. He would have done that. But I think the coolest thing and this is probably not every student athlete, and Bijan Robinson is a special person, but they asked him about NIL, and he says, well, my job is, he said, I'm blessed to have the opportunities the opportunities that I have, right? But he's not a flashy guy. He does not want to drive that Lamborghini, 7 days a week. He said, I drive my truck for the most part, and on the weekends I drive my Lamborghini, but I make sure that everybody else is a part of that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, when he says with these NIL deals, because he knows he's blessed and not everybody is getting the same thing that he's getting, he doesn't bring it back into the locker room. And I think that's absolutely important in college football, because you're going to have the guys you're going to have the guys that have these Lamborghini deals, or you're going to get these guys that sign these deals for, $500,000 or $1 million. But I think where you have to kind of watch these NIL deals is that you're going to have the guys that get a lot, and you're going to have some that did get none. But I think Texas is putting together programs like Burn Orange Heroes. There's another NIL program, the Pancake Factory, where everybody feels like they're getting something or they're not being left out. You know what I'm saying? Because you're on the team. But that was probably one of the best comments I heard was he's more worried about team than he is that Lamborghini deal. He's more worried about team than he is that Heisman Trophy thing. And he says, as long as the team is successful, everything else is going to work itself out. And to me, that was probably one of the best comments I heard, answered at Big 12 Media Day. And it was from Bijan Robinson.
Absolutely. It's always going to be Bijan Robinson. We talked about that today, about the leadership that's coming through this running back room. Not only are they great football players, and the top 2 are going to get drafted, but one leads with his play on the field and his attitude, and the other one, Roshan, will get in your rear end and lead a different way. But there's a lot of leadership coming from that running back room, and it comes from your best player. And that's Bijan Robinson leading from the front, doing his thing, which again, Steve said that this week. The one thing I didn't do, and it goes back to the whole keep it the same or blow it up. I could do the same thing my predecessor did. I just have to deal with maybe the same results that my predecessor got, or I could blow the whole thing up, do it my way, and it would be a little bit tougher. Things might not come a little bit easier, but it's my way. And the same thing with this leadership. And he said, I didn't have enough culture. The guys weren't together enough. That's changed. That's changed from everything you're hearing from the coaches, from the players inside the program. That's changed. So that's another positive going in the right direction. Everybody's saying the thing. Everybody's saying the right things.
I get it. But until you see it come to fruition, you see it on the field, and you see this team come together, and they're beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. It's difficult for me to hear that. I think one thing that Steve
Let me make a point real quick. Let me make a point real quick.
Finish. Go ahead.
Because September 3rd, because you're absolutely right, because Stephen Nagati had a great term last year, and he called it a product launch, because all this stuff was getting him fired up. Brand new coach with a brand new coaching staff, with a brand new philosophy and a brand new offense and this, that, and the other, with all these great players. And he said, I got to see the product launch. Well, September 3rd this year, and I'm going to use your words, Stephen, is the product launch. All this stuff we've been talking about for the last – only me and Clint for the last month and a half, because Lord knows we took 4 months off, is going to come to fruition. And you're going to have – and that's when this is going to have to manifest itself. Again, talking to that national guy today, everything you do this year affects everything, because the 23 class, yes, they're committed, and it seems like they're all in lockstep, and there's 18 of them, and there's going to be more by the time we hit the season. But they've got to see, and the 24 class behind them and the 25 class behind them have to see results on the football field, or this fired up feeling, this emotion is not going to last.
I don't know how to follow that up because it's absolutely true. I think that when you listen to Steve Sarkisian speak, and damn, if you listen to our lives and you listen to our shows in the last year of Tom Herman, you know that I got to a point where I couldn't watch any of his press conferences, zero, or the damn live radio show on Thursdays. You know what I'm saying? It got to a point. Steve Sarkisian he's able to speak in a way that you feel like he's speaking to just you. That makes sense. Like he is, I think he's humble, he's energetic, but I think he also is not afraid to take what he's learned from some of the best college football coaches at his stops. And he's not afraid to bring them here or mix them together or mesh them together and say, you know what? I learned this from Pete Carroll, and that's where he got that from. Pete Carroll said either blow it up or keep it the same. But if you're going to keep it the same, you're going to get the same. You're going to get the same response, right? But then he also talks about the way that Saban does business. You know what I'm saying? So meshing those two things together. But one thing he's not afraid of is he's not talking about going 1-0. That dude's talking about winning a Big 12 championship, like now. You know what I'm saying? And I think our previous coaches were more worried about the next game. We're worried about the next game. We'll worry about the next game. We're worried about the next game. We're worried about the next game. No, he's feeding it into these players' minds now that, hey, you know what? It's not about the next game. The next game counts, but every game counts because we're going to try to win a Big 12 championship. And I think that's what we've been missing.
Vision, right? Johntay said it himself. I understand Steve Sarkisian's vision. I understand where he wants to take me and my class, because he said it in that interview that my class, my second year, we had better be competing in those big games, like for the Big 12 championship. We had better be competing for a college football playoff spot. And so he shared a vision with them that they're all in line with. And so if recruits are feeling that way, I'm pretty sure the 57 new guys that he's brought on out of the 85 and the guys that have remained, from those other coaches' steads have to be in lockstep in thinking the same thing. Again, if you can get a 17-year-old recruit who plays high school football away from Austin, Texas, seeing a vision for his future, I think you can definitely see where if I got my hands on you Monday through Friday, if they could see it, that I can get you to see it. And that's what it's a shared vision. And like I say, the 22 class obviously had it because they were coming off a coaching change, a very first recruiting class for this coaching staff. They believed. 23 coming off a 5-7 season. They see a vision. They believe. If we get the guys that are currently on the 40 acres to believe like 22 and 23 do, then we're going to have a pretty doggone good season.
Robert Muhammad says $2. Appreciate your super chat, Bubba. Appreciate it. It means a lot to us. Do we keep the future schedules? Talking about probably going to the SEC with University of Georgia, Ohio State, and University of Michigan, et cetera. The list goes on all the way up until like 2030, right? I think
Georgia. Yeah, if Georgia's game is before the move to the SEC, I think it stays. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, they have home dates with major programs from now until 2030. Ohio State, University of Michigan should not move. They're going to be Big Ten opponents. But it depends on how large these conferences get, how many out-of-conference games you're willing to play, how many conference games you're going to play. So it's a question like if it remains what's it going to be, a 16-team conference with 4 pods and maybe 9 I'm still trying to figure out how they keep the schedule competitively even, when you have that many teams in a conference. Because again, I don't see you scheduling like the Big 12 is a round robin, right? Everybody plays the same 9 teams. It's an even schedule, blah, 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 blah. When you start blowing these conferences up and making them big, if you do the pod system, then you could keep that scheduling even and organic, right? But how many non-conference games you're going to play? How many games out of your pod are you going to play? That's a whole lot of stuff that needs to be worked out with these university presidents and athletic directors that I don't have answers to. Do I want to see them stay? Absolutely. Absolutely, I want to go back to Ohio State. Absolutely, because it reminds me of the 2005 national championship team. Do I want to go to play the University of Michigan? Yes, because me and my wife will finally be in alignment against one team because she's a Michigan State fan, and of course, I'm Texas. So she's go green, and we'd be in alignment against go blue. So yeah, definitely something I love those games.
I think, but again, UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten, I think it's up to both conferences to figure out if they're going to play those games. But again, I think it comes down to how many conference games you play versus how many out of conference games do you play. And, does every team play a Power 5 team? Because I'm going to tell you this, when you go to the SEC and people, talk about their schedule all the time. And me and Jeremy were kind of looking at some schedules the other day. I forgot we were looking at them. I think, it was on late.
It was
late
on
kick,
Josh Payton.
Late kick with Josh Payton, where he was going down these things. And I'm like, what? Alcorn State followed by Savannah State I'm like, what the hell is this? But if that's the way that everybody else is scheduling, that you're playing against an SEC, you almost got to go to that point where you're doing the same thing. Because why are you going to play? I think they were talking about Georgia going to Oregon the first week this week, right? They're like, why the hell would Georgia schedule Oregon the first week when they got to play an entire SEC schedule? So it's going to figure. To me, that's one of those conversations that we'll see probably happen after this year, because I think that's when they're going to start working on the scheduling for those moves that are going to happen in 2024. Because I just can't see Texas and Oklahoma not moving at the same time that you see UCLA and USC moving to the Big Ten. I think those four move concurrently to those conferences in which they're going to be in.
Can I stop the showdown real quick at 56 minutes?
Yes, you can.
Because I want to share a quick little message. So me and Clint have been back doing this for a month and a half. I don't have it up. He probably does, but I see there's 150 folks in here. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, show us that you support our channel. We really appreciate it. I know the comments are set for subscribers only, so if there are listeners out there that aren't talking, so appreciate you subscribers for keeping this conversation going with your great questions and great comments. But if there are folks out there that are listening first time, second time, third time to Texas Football Talk, this is the energy we bring every show. Got a ton of new content coming out. Just this week, we're probably going to drop 4 to 5 shows, tape 2 today. So working very hard. So please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And then go check out our new membership, The Inner Circle. See what we have to offer. It's $5 a month, but see the extra content and deliverables that we're going to give those special people that join our inner circle, mainly during the season. Again, it's going to be a members-only in-game chat. It's going to be members-only commentary of Alabama and Oklahoma, where the TV is going to be on, the mics are going to be on. You're going to hear our thoughts, our comments. You're going to be able to share yours. I might send a link to a couple of you to join me during the commentary, depending upon if it's going our way or their way. Because again, this is a channel that we like to respect people and don't like too much cussing and that kind of stuff. But please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please check out what we have to offer in the Inner Circle. Thank you very much.
Trace Williams, which position group? He threw this up there twice, so we seen it. You know what I'm saying? Trace, I'm gonna send you a text message later for this. Okay, I'm gonna send you a text right after the show about your throwing the comments up twice there, because we didn't see it the first time. All right, which position group can't afford a couple of injuries? Linebacker one right off the top. That's the first one that comes to my mind is linebacker. He says kickers, defensive line, and offensive line. Offensive line, me and Jeremy will do that position preview. Tracy, there's 12 guys, 5 which are probably going to start, and then you have 7 guys backing them up, which are young pups. Kicker obviously is going to be an issue. Anytime you get a kicker injured, I don't think the second guy that's behind him is probably not as good as the first one. That's a problem. And then you got Digger, the kicker to the left, that was, your kicker and your punter. But to me, linebacker, we can't afford injuries. And I would also say probably defensive line. Defensive line and linebacker right now are probably the ones where you can't afford injuries because of depth issues.
I'm going down the middle. Defensive line, linebacker, safety are my top 3 positions that I can't afford to have any attrition at. That the guys that we brought in on D-line are young. No, we've seen that we don't have a whole lot of depth at linebacker. Hopefully, a couple of these guys that we brought in can fill some of those holes, especially the transfer from James Madison. Expect him to start or get plenty of playing time. But then the safety position is awfully young behind the first 2. So yeah, I'm going defensive line, then linebacker, then safety. I'm impressed with Auburn, and then every publication you have has them losing his job to Gabriel Lozano. So kicking game is going to be the kicking game. You lost a great one in Dicker, who did both for you. He kicked and punted. So definitely a loss there. But I would say defensive line, linebacker, and then safety.
So Candace asked, where's the link at for the Inner Circle? Where do we find it? So if you go to your YouTube page, I think it's if you're on the computer, it's going to be right next to
the subscribe button.
Right next to the subscribe button. But if you're looking at it from your phone, when you go to your phone, you'll see if you're already subscribed, you'll see another little button. Once you pull up our homepage on your phone, and it'll say join. Obviously, Tracy wasn't listening to your message about the Inner Circle here. Inner Circle's membership, I think it's $5 a month. Jeremy's going to do a couple of shows, commentary on a couple of shows. We're going to have some other VIP guests specific for those members, like membership only shows. And we may just send out, links to our StreamYard, where it's not just you listening to us talk, but actually you being on there face to face, having a conversation back and forth with us is going to be part of that membership deal as well. So go ahead, Jeremy.
And if I could, the badges and the emojis that the wife built, those are really, really cool. When you go into the circle, you'll be able to see the badges for membership for a month, 2 month, 3 months, 6 month. They're our logo with different, colors, like almost a regular one, then a gold, silver, bronze medal around the ring. So just the emojis and the badges I thought were really, really cool. And then, like you said, just the additional content. We're trying to pump it out for two guys who have full-time jobs. So hope you guys enjoy that. Please give it a look.
So I don't know if anybody can see that. So I'm going to put it up here. I think it's this way. So if you go to the home page on your phone and do you see that join button? If you're on your phone, you got to be at the home page. You just hit that join button. It's going to give you kind of the description of what the Inner Circle is. I don't know how crazy that was. I apologize about that if I blinded somebody putting my phone up there like that. That's
enough of our own shout outs for a minute. But we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you, spending time with us. We appreciate the passion and that we have for the program, that you guys have as well. And like I said, just can't wait to and we got our first member, Gregory I.
We do have
a new member of the Inner Circle. So appreciate that, my friend.
Absolutely, man. We got our first member. Wow, look at that. Gregory I. First member to the Inner Circle. Jeremy's got to get
really appreciate that, Greg. Yep.
No,
start making some stuff.
Yeah, really do appreciate that. So as you can see, there's next to Gregory's name there, you can actually see there's a logo there. We got to kind of figure out those logos and how they're going to work, because sometimes, Texas Homer just became a member too. That's what I'm talking about. Goodness gracious, we got them rolling in now. So this is all right. Y'all making my heart happy tonight. 137 people in here. Me and Jeremy were kind of worried when we came in here tonight, because it was like we had like 2 people. Sometimes we'll have a few people waiting for the show. Tonight it was like crickets. I think we had like 2 people. It looked like that were kind of waiting to come in, and then all of a sudden it kind of blew up, and it's been going on for like the last hour. So holy shit, me and Jeremy may go for another 27 minutes if he's okay with it. All I got to do is get something to eat. So
I've already ate. Applebee's was the chicken Alfredo with broccoli. But let's talk ball, man.
Yeah.
So I think we've talked about everything that we had to talk about. Again, I think the 20th of July is going to be a good day for the University of Texas. Johntay Cook, Arch Manning, they're working their tail off to get great players in this university. And then, like I said, we're going to turn page next weekend and start our fall position previews. Already written 6 of them. All the offenses are done. Decided today that I was going to split D ends and D tackles. If you're playing the 1 and the 3, you're going to have your own preview. If you're playing the Buck or the Jack, you're going to have your own preview, because last year we combined them. It was just too chaotic. So be looking out for those. And again, I was able to jump on Stucast today. That video will be popping out Monday. Basically, he wanted an inside outlook, because he has an idea with his subscribership what fans of across college football are thinking about Texas. So he wanted to hear our perspective. So I was happy to give it to him. So that'll come out on Monday. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Richard Walker.
So speaking of safeties, have we heard anything about J.D. Coffey? According to this publication, J.D. Coffey, Athlon Sports, is going to be on the 2 deep. He is the backup boundary safety, I believe. Not sure what Phil still has. But again, defense is second. We're going to do offense first. Like Clint said earlier, the skill positions are the easiest positions to do because we're deep there. We're good there. In those offensive, defensive lines where we know there's going to be some probably restructuring, and the two deep's not going to look a whole lot like it did last year. Those are going to take some practice time, some fall camp for us to figure out before we throw those out there.
I want to bring this up real quick because I've talked about it in numerous shows. We've talked about this in numerous shows. The impact that Gary Patterson is having on this program. So if you had an opportunity to go listen to Steve Sarkisian's Big 12 Media, what is it? Damn, I can't even think right now.
Media Day press conference. I call it the State of the Union.
Yeah, State of the Union press conference. When they asked him about, it was actually a TCU reporter that asked Steve Sarkisian about Gary Patterson's presence. And Gary Patterson is if you want to see, and again, second year under Pete Kwiatkowski, but I think Gary Patterson's impact on the program this year is why you see a big difference on the defense side of the ball. And the reason is because, and on the offense side of the ball too, because he is the one that's sitting there nitpicking everything that every player is doing. And Steve Sarkisian, just glowing, said he was, outside of the recruiting class they had, probably better than the recruiting class they had last year, he was the best addition to the program. And I think what got me is where he talked about how he is the one that's identifying players and where they need to play on the defense side of the ball. And we talked about that. And I'm going to tell you what, those secondary guys that are currently playing where they're at, they're not playing there because you had, Pete Kwiatkowski saying we need to move Anthony Cook back from nickel to safety. I'm going to tell you what, Gary Patterson had a lot to say so in those moves in the secondary because that's what he's done for the last 20 years is really do more with less. And he sees what talent can do. And it's not about having specific corners or specific safeties or nickel. And that's what those guys played in high school. It's taking your best 5 athletes and putting them into space so they can perform in the secondary as needed.
More than that, it's your skill set evaluation, right? And which packages that you would succeed at, right? So he's going to take a player, he's going to look at a skill set, he's going to say, hey, on certain packages, you may be a dime corner, you may play in the slot, you may have to play outside. Hey, you may have to, just like they're doing with DeMarvion and Overshown. He said that, that he's going to play more edge. That's, I believe, Gary Patterson's influence on this defense. You got a guy that's converted safety, got speed on the edge, utilize him that way versus just trying to be a run stuffing linebacker on first or second down. Again, versatility, right? Finding the skill set, finding something that the player does well, put him in a package to help him succeed. You won't see all 11 guys. You'll see guys running on and off the field based upon down and distance and packages. And that's exactly what he's doing for them. He's self-scouting his own players, but like Steve said, he's also taking that first block of 3 or 4 games, and he's scouting the offenses of the other teams. And again, he said it's an ear. It's somebody I can bounce stuff off. It's somebody that Pete can bounce stuff off of, that has experience and that we trust. He said it was one of the biggest acquisitions he had all offseason. We believed that when he came there. You're talking about a guy that did more with less for almost 20 years at TCU, beat the brakes off of us a couple of times with so-called lesser talent. So, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree, and Gary Patterson's going to bring something to this program, no doubt.
Yeah, so right now, believe it or not, if you're looking at the 22 projected starting lineup on Phil Steele's defensive side of the ball, they currently have DeMarvion Overshown as the wheel linebacker and Diamante Tucker-Dorsey Sr. as the middle linebacker. And I think at some particular point, like you're talking, it's almost bringing DeMarvion Overshown down is almost an edge rusher. And you could see probably, I'm going to call him DTD for short, right? DTD Tucker and Ford and DeMarvion Overshown on the field at the same time in some of those packages where they feel like they need to get to the quarterback.
Absolutely. That's what you want to see. Just like you want to see versatility and alignment change on offense, you got to see the same thing. You got to show that quarterback different looks. And we've said that forever, that you can't have the same front. You can't have the same, scheme for first, second, and third down, depending upon down and distance. You got to throw as many different looks. You got to put, like I say, a guy like Overshown, who has a talent level at all three levels. He's played safety, he's played in box linebacker, and he can help you on the edge. You got to utilize him in all three places. You'll see that with Will Anderson from Alabama. If they get tired of us running two guys at him or blocking him, chipping him with a running back or putting a tight end to his side, they're probably going to stand him up and move him outside and let him rush a different way. So take advantage of those athletes that you have, especially on defense, that can create matchup problems. The same way you would on offense. You see Ja'Tavion Sanders on an outside linebacker, you're going to take advantage of that. Same thing with Worthy in the slot, and use your weapons on defense the same way you would do on offense.
Yeah, just Tyson Tomer talking about, he just talked to a defensive player about GP. He said it's been awesome to learn from him, and I'm telling you, that guy is, again, but he's doing the same thing for the offensive side of the ball. Where he is, obviously he knows the game plan. He's looking at Sarkisian's game plan versus what he probably expects that defense to run against Steve Sarkisian, and he's countering everything that Steve Sarkisian's putting in his game plan, so that if Steve Sarkisian's going to run a play, then he's already really talked to Gary Patterson about probably what he needs to expect and so on and so forth.
Reverse engineering. That's exactly what he's doing. He's reverse engineering his scheme, right? So, hey, Gary, I'm lined up in this. What would you do to combat that? Because that's what folks said is Sark's first 15 plays, and you saw it. Like, our first quarter offense was unbelievable. It was unbelievable against Oklahoma. It was unbelievable against Baylor. It was unbelievable against Oklahoma State. But it's when those teams made adjustments to Sark's initial game plan, we couldn't come back and combat that. So, again, he's reverse engineering Sark's offensive game plan for him, and he's in PK's ear probably with, self-scouting our players, but he's also going to be a part of that developmental game plan. Sark said it. He said he's already working ahead in those that first block of games to set up our defensive game plan. Then, of course, he'll run it by PK when it gets closer to, and they'll roll it out there.
Yeah, Richard Walker, the reason I feel good about this team is because we know Sark can identify offensive talent. Hell, he can go get the guy at HEB, put him on the field. The guy that's stocking the shelves at HEB, take him to the 40 acres, put him out there in a helmet on Saturday morning or on Saturday afternoon, and figure out how to get him into space. It's just up to the HEB guy to be able to catch the ball and do what he needs to. That's not the problem. But GP can identify defensive talent. Now we can play complementary football if we develop correctly. And it comes down to development. There was another great. Let me see if I can find it here. Who gets credit if the defense shows drastic improvement? I'm giving it to Pete Kwiatkowski, because if Gary Patterson is, talking to Steve Sarkisian, as long as their ears are open and you're humble enough to take outside information and use it, I'm going to give you credit. It's Pete Kwiatkowski's defense. That guy's known to develop players. Go back and look at what he did at Washington and the guys that he was getting. Again, he's one of those guys with do more with less at University of Washington, and getting these guys, developed and onto the NFL. So he has. I don't want to shit on Pete Kwiatkowski tonight. I really don't, because he has a track record of being a really good defensive coordinator. But when you have the 100th ranked defense in the country and you're scoring 34 points a game, but you only win 5 games, there's a problem. But it's also when your offense decides to shut down, when your defense is playing well, now all of a sudden the team comes back and you're putting yourself at disadvantage because there is no complementary football.
Again, I think Pete Kwiatkowski, it's a bye with me or a do-over for sure. Again, those aren't his players. He has to have an opportunity to bring his kind of guys into the program to instill his philosophy, to set his scheme. And I say everybody. I say Bo Davis. I say Chode. I say Gideon. I say Joseph. I say the players. I say PK, Patterson. Kind of like what Bijan said. If we're successful, we all eat. Everybody deserves credit. But if you're asking who deserves credit out of Gary Patterson, Pete Kwiatkowski, I would say they both do. Just along with all those assistant coaches. We know what the weak spots are on those defenses. On that defense, we know where it needs to improve. We've talked about the statistics of the run defense, the 5.9 yards per carry. We talked about the explosive plays they gave up. We talked about the fourth quarter leads they gave up. If you see him again, that offensive line, it's easy, right? Because your skill position players are great. You got a new quarterback, but he can do everything with what he has to work with. It's can the offensive line improve some, and can this defense move from the 99th ranked defense to around 30th to 50th? And I think your whole season changes. Now, in order to compete for championships, you got to have a top 25 offense and a top 25 defense to be in that CFP range. But I think they're going to improve. I think they're working hard. I think they're in the second year of a system. I think they've attritted what they needed to attrit. I think they brought in who they need to bring in. But like you said, 57 out of his 85 guys, they're good, but they're young. So we'll see.
Yeah, Gregory, I can tell you that he did an interview with Chip Brown on 247 probably a couple of months ago. And he's talking about, I doubt GP sticks around. He will be a head coach somewhere else. He's already said that he's not going to go be a head coach unless he goes to a place where he has an opportunity to win a national championship. I think the only thing that's right now what he wants to win is a national championship. And he said specifically, I'm not just going to move to a place to be a head coach if I'm not going to a place where I'm set up to win a national championship. And that is going to be a large Power 5 program that is probably established or a blue blood program that loses its head coach where he has a couple of years to try to get him back on track to go win that national championship. So I think he's comfortable in Austin, man. I think he's comfortable in Austin. I think he's got a music scene there. I think Steve Sark, like you said, he gets along with the staff. He's not having to stress about. He only probably does what he wants to do. Does it make sense? And now the ball is in his court, and he does what is necessary for it to be successful. Hell, if you go watch, I think it was Malik Muhammad had a video that we watched this week. It was about 30 minutes long. It was about his day, or his official visit at the University of Texas, kind of his giveaway to kind of where he's going to go, if you ask me. But Gary Patterson shows up at every one of those recruiting events and is like shaking hands and talking to these guys. And I think it's important, but I think Gary Patterson is doing what he wants to do right now in life without the stress of having to be a head coach and answer to fans and everybody else. So I think he sticks around for a while, man. I really think he sticks around for a while.
Can I throw this up from Homer real quick? Finally have guys to play more man coverage, which will be a welcome change. Less DBs playing off the ball. Absolutely. I want all my defensive backs to be in the hip pocket of receivers. Being a former receiver, they adjust your route. They throw the quarterback's timing off. They throw your route off. And it just makes things a heck of a lot more difficult. If I'm playing eight yards of cushion, I could do a lot of things with those 8 yards. I could take you inside on a skinny on a slant route. I can hook you back in. I can do a double move. I can do a lot of things with 8 yards of space. But if you're in my face putting hands on me right as I leave the line of scrimmage, it changes the game. So I love that. I love aggressive defensive back play, especially within that first 5 yards.
I want to bring this up because I think this is absolutely important. Again, attrition was important for this class. Bo Davis blowing up on the bus was important for this team. You know what I'm saying? That because these guys, these coaches know what it takes to win a national championship. They know what it takes to get to the next level. I talk about that with this coaching staff all the time. You had guys that have developed players to get to the NFL. You've had coaches that have either coached in the NFL or coached at national championship teams. That's what you have to understand. They know exactly what type of player they need. They know exactly what they need to get out of those players, and they know exactly what schemes to win championships. They do. Pete Kwiatkowski played Alabama in, I want to say, one of the first college football semifinals. Is that correct? Or what, during them, right? Yep. So he knows what it takes to take a team like Washington. And again, he had Lake and Peterson as the head coach who had success at Boise State. So it wasn't all Pete Kwiatkowski, but they've been at programs that have been successful and they know what it takes to get to that level. That's the difference between the last coaching staff. That last coaching staff came in from Houston, didn't have really the skins on the wall that this coaching staff has to know what it takes to win a national championship. Thomas Herman was the offensive coordinator at Ohio State, at one point, but none of those other coaches had the skins on the wall that these current coaches have. But to get to this point, too many players on the roster last year were used to losing and would give up during adversity, that'll change a lot in 22. And again, it comes down to that attrition of that 2018 class. That 2018 class is the one that obviously went to the Sugar Bowl. They won the Sugar Bowl, beat Georgia, and then it was like team became I instead of actual team. And I think that's where those players were at, and they got tired. They got used to losing, and they were okay with losing. And I think you had to have those hard conversations with these players and tell them you're no longer going to be on this football team.
Yeah, the blow up on the bus was perfect. And we've talked about this before, is this coaching staff will have those hard conversations after fall ball. They'll say, hey, man, I don't see you playing at this university. They'll have those hard conversations after the season. Hey, I don't see you cracking the 2 deep. I got this many guys ahead of you currently on the 40 acres, and I got this many coming in the next class. And those conversations are what has to happen in order for that player to be able to go somewhere else to get the opportunity that they want. But again, it has to happen for a team that's trying to build to win championships. Again, that 85 is what I'm concerned about if I'm a college coach. From 1 to 85, everybody has to be productive. Now, will they all see the field? No. But I got to know that when I stick the guy in there, that I'm not going to have a significant drop-off, that he's practicing just as hard as that first team for that next opportunity for that guy to go down or that guy to miss a game or to miss a series so that I can show. And again, that's Alabama, right? 5-star after 5-star after 5-star after 5-star. The guy graduates. The junior moves up. He takes that starting spot. He plays well enough. He gets drafted. That guy moves on. That sophomore moves up. He plays well enough to get drafted. I got to build the best 85, and I have to have those hard conversations sometimes. And I don't remember who said it this week. It was Julio Jones talking about Nick Saban. And he said, yes, we have 5-star after 5-star after 5-star that can catch the football. And it was him and I think Amari Cooper. And he said, but if we don't block, we don't play. You know, it's being accountable to your teammates, being accountable to each other, because that's what this coaching staff is looking for. Not only good players, but accountable players who are going to do the little things. And that's what's going to make this football team championship worthy or championship competitive.
That was good. I was going to say something. I need coaches to blow up on the damn sideline every once in a while too. You can't have, and again, you can't have a senior offensive lineman getting 2 15-yard penalties for excessive shit on the field without me seeing a coach blow the hell up on the sideline and having that guy.
I'm not sure, but Clint's volume may have cut out. Hey, fix your stuff. He got so fired up his volume cut out. So hopefully it gets fixed. So, yeah, so basically what he was talking about is stuff like we saw in that first spring game with Kyle Flood. Let me unmute you real quick. Okay, you're back, I think.
No. Keep going.
Yeah, you're back.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you. All right, so don't explode on the sidelines next time. Knock yourself out. So tell us what you were saying.
No, I was doing a coach boom, right? And I think it's important for this staff to have those guys on the sideline that are going to blow up like a Nick Saban. They're going to blow up like a Kirby Smart. That when you have somebody that gets a 15-yard excessive penalty on the goal line when you're trying to go in and score and win a game, or you have a guy that's hitting somebody out of bounds, 10, 15 seconds after the play is over with, that's not okay. You know what I'm saying? But I think we have to have that fire that's really on the field. And it's got to come from those coaches, and it's got to be seen so that these student athletes, these football players understand that, one, that type of player is not going to be okay. But at the same time, if you do not play the way you're supposed to play and you hurt the team, that you're going to find yourself on the bench because we have someone else to replace you with.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, Coach Boom, Will Muschamp. And again, I think we saw that in Kyle Flood. Not their first year, the spring game, not this one, but the last one. Somebody made a mistake coming off the sidelines. You know who it was? It was Marcus Washington. A drop, and then attitude, and then another drop, and then attitude. And Kyle Flood just lifted him up off the ground with an ass chewing. And yeah, that's it. Accountability to me and your teammates. And that's something that me and Mike Gooseby talked about, Trevor's dad, was how the coaches have accountability to players and vice versa. And that's what makes for great chemistry and a great football team.
Kobe, I wasn't going to say no names. I try to stay away from, calling individual players out, but I like your comment there, by the way. So I got a dog that's trying to jump through the door here. I think Jeremy's got one under his foot there. I think we're about an hour and 25 minutes in. This show got so exciting that I'm actually like sweating in my shirt like I went for a run. But it's been fun, man. It's been really, really, really fun. Hopefully we see some guys on. We'll do some shows. Obviously, I think we got another live before this next show. Texas Homer says, show the dogs. We are going to, at some particular point, mine's huge, Texas Homer. I got a German Shepherd, Great Pyrenees, that if I open that door, she's probably going to knock over everything I can. But I think at some particular point, we can do that. We will do that for one of these shows. We'll bring the dogs in here, just kind of pick them up, show them, and then we've got to exit them out, because if not, they'll be pretty crazy. Mine, she weighs about 115 pounds. And she's probably like 6'2". So, but she's a monster. So,
I think everybody see my dogs, 2 English Bulldogs. I've shown them a couple of times on Twitter when they were going bonkers for 4th of July. I said, take a look at these 2 5-stars. The fireworks are rocking them tonight. So you can see my 2 if you go to Twitter, because they're heavy. Mine are squatty, 2 English Bulldogs squatting about 80 pounds, and they don't like to be held up. So I'd have to kind of follow them around with the camera. But go check out our Twitter page. If you're not following our Twitter page, please do that. You'll see them probably about 20, 30 tweets down from July 4th. On cue, there's Clint's dog. But yeah, it was a fun one, man. It was a fun one. We really appreciate all the new members of the Inner Circle. We really appreciate all the super chats. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't. And just tell somebody. When we started this channel out, we were small. We probably had 100 subscribers at the time, maybe. And we were like, hey, if you know a Texas fan, please let them know we exist. Please tune them in to Texas Football Talk so they can be a part of our family. A lot of the old timers are here, and unfortunately, those membership badges that you earned tonight are going to start from today, so they're not going to count for that 2 years. Tracy Williams and all you guys that have been with us forever, Working Man and KD35 and all Scooter and all you guys who've been with us for a long time.
You said Johnny Munoz.
Johnny Munoz. Did you see him tonight?
No, I didn't. But since you're shouting people out, man, you remember the original ones, and we've grown so much that I want to make sure that people understand that we're never going to forget where we came from, or the people that started the channel with us, because it was a disaster. What they had to watch at the beginning with us was a disaster. The content might have been good, but we definitely didn't have all this nice stuff on the screen. That was for sure. But we're going to let y'all go tonight. I got to go get something to eat. I got a dog that's trying to break down the door. Jeremy's, I think, got a bulldog, or a bulldog is probably trying to eat his foot down there.
No, they're gone. But I do have. I got to cut the first 10 feet of these trees out in my front yard. I gotta get the hedge clippers out and go to work after this. But really, really appreciate you guys.
Yeah. So all right. So if you're new to the channel, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. We talked enough about the membership tonight. Hopefully, people get enough through the show so they can see that we do have a new membership called the Inner Circle. We have quite a few people join during this show, and we truly appreciate that. You can find us on Facebook at Texas Football Talk. We're on Twitter all the time. So if it's not me on Twitter, it's usually Jeremy on Twitter. Sometimes we'll actually tweet or retweet something at the same time, and then one of us has to delete it. But you can find us on Twitter at Texas Football Talk, and our Facebook is growing pretty big now too. And on Instagram at Texas Football Talk. We appreciate y'all listening. As always, y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Be looking for the content that's coming out this week, and hook 'em.
Hook 'em.